what is the nature of the mitzvah of Tzit-tzit? What type of mitzvah is it? So the Rambam uses like the lashon mitzvahs rishus. So he doesn't really mean rishus per se. It's probably more like a conditional mitzvah. There are mitzvah chiyuvis. There's a mitzvah of tefillin, a mitzvah of lulav, an esrog, the daled minim. Those are mitzvahs chiyuvis you have to do. But mitzvah of Tzit-tzit, as we'll see, as we'll get into, is a conditional mitzvah. If you're wearing a four-corner garment, so then you have to put on Tzit-tzit. We'll see if that statement is true or not, but that's how it's popularly explained, that you don't have to wear a four-corner garment, but if you're wearing a four-corner garment, you become chayiv in Tzit-tzit. That's why there's an interesting Gemara in Menachos. There's this person called Katina, and apparently he wasn't wearing Tzit-tzit. So the Malach said to him, Katina, Katina, what's going to be with you? What about the mitzvah of Tzit-tzit? So he says, what do you want from me? I'm not wearing a four-corner garment. And Gemara goes on. But the way some Mepharshim point out is, and the way Tosfos writes, it's almost like he did a trick. It wasn't like, because Bisman HaGemara could have been that many of the garments we had, or people wore, were four-cornered. So it wasn't like today, we have to go ahead and put on a special garment. But it's almost like some orange, he had the four corners, but he rounded off one of the corners to make it a three-corner garment, so he didn't have to wear. He seemed to do more than just like we had. He actually had the four-corner garment, and in order to avoid having to wear tzitzis, he rounded it off. So the Gemara says over there, so you're right, you don't have to wear, but be'idan riska, but during the time of anger, let's say God gets angry a moment every day and Bilam was able to machavin the Shah, so be'idan riska, you'll get punished. In other words, tzitzis is like a life insurance policy. Basically you're right, you don't have to wear, but it's good. But if you do wear it, then it could be used. God, kind of like the concept of if you're a 9-to-5 guy at work and the second bell rings, whether it's school or work, you're out of there. So the work is not the important. If you do something that warrants getting fired or other things, it's not going to do anything more. You work for the book, we'll work by the book. But if you're going to do something you don't have to do, wear a four-corner garment with tzitzis, so you're doing more, so to speak, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu also will do with Nimashur Hadin. So really we see from this Gemara, the real Me'ikr Hadin, there isn't a chiyuv to wear tzitzis. However, there seems to be another concept that even though you don't have to wear a four-corner garment, it seems to be that at least the trickery that having a four-corner garment as part of your regular clothes and making it three corners, that's what the Gemara doesn't like. Again, it's not Me'ikr Hadin, but it's something that they frown upon. So it could be some post can point out that Bismana said that's different. We don't have to do any trickster. My clothes are in four corners. So today you have to take on a whole new beged. You have to actually go ahead and make a four-corner garment and put it on. So maybe that we won't be punished on. If you're wearing a four-corner garment and you round it off, that's one thing. But the fact that I have to go ahead and actually go buy a four-corner garment and put tzitzis on, maybe that's not something even be'idin riska I'll get punished at. So as there's a Gemara in Psachim, the Gemara talks about certain things. You get a nidoy bashamayim in heaven, you get put in cherem. So one of the things is not putting on tzitzis. So what does that mean exactly? So Tosfos over there, and it's based on the Gemara in Sota. There's a famous Gemara with Moshe Rabbeinu. It says Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael. He was mitztayer, he was under distress. He wasn't able to fulfill the mitzvahs hatruyas ba'aretz. He wasn't able to fulfill in Chutz La'aretz, Shemitah, Truma, Maisa, etc. He wasn't able to fulfill them. So he was under distress, so he said God, he wants to go in so he can fulfill the mitzvah. So the question is, what was he upset about? If you're in the Eretz Yisrael and you don't keep Truma, Maisa, Shemitah, then you have reason to be upset. But it has to do with the Kedushas Haaretz. He's not even involved in the mitzvah. So Tosfos says, we see from this Gemara, there's a concept where even more than that, one, if it was even hard, Moshe was mitzvayr. Moshe was mitzvayr that...
I get two, it didn't make it. Okay, it's working now.
Moshe was mitzvayr on something, a big thing, like that he wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael and fulfill the mitzvah. So we see from here that one should always try to put themselves in a situation where they can fulfill as many mitzvahs as possible. So even though it's true, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have to, but that's what Tosfos seems to, one of the explanations in Tosfos, that's how he explained the concept of Tzit-tzit. Also, it's true, you don't have to wear a four-corner garment, but if it's something that it's easy, that was Moshe, that's hard to live in Eretz Yisrael and keep all the mitzvahs, especially then. But going ahead and something which isn't a big tircha, I guess we'll see maybe in the summer it's a bigger tircha, if you're not wearing an undershirt, it might get uncomfortable. But in a case where it doesn't involve much, even discomfort or much effort, so you should go ahead and try to put yourself in a situation where you could fulfill the mitzvah of tzitzis.
How does the thing work with katina? So there's no scar onish necessarily. If you happen to have bad luck and when you're not wearing tzitzis, you get punished.
No, it's not getting...
You deserve it or not?
No, so that's no. The case is you're only going to get punished if you deserve it. But it could have been the schus of if you did the mitzvah of tzitzis, so the extra schus of the mitzvah of tzitzis could have protected you, even though you deserved an onish on something. In other words, basically you're doing more.
So why is it only in a certain time that you have to worry about it?
No, it's just saying, but you didn't risk at the time. I mean, saying it just as because in terms of why does God have to be angry? You mean?
Yeah. Why? I mean, if you deserve the like you said, you deserve the punishment. So now you're doing a mitzvah. So now you're scot free. What does even risk have to do with it?
No, right. So maybe the different concepts of getting punished right away on something, or you don't necessarily get the immediate punishment. God will put it aside for later. Maybe other things will happen. Right. I mean, the Eden risk is a mystical concept. I mean, what does it mean? Bilam was, you get a reg of a chol yom, God gets angry. So what does that mean? Right. So they talk about a concept of midas hadin and that, but right, it's a more of a Kabbalistic concept in terms of, you're right, bottom line is, but, forget Eden risk, if you do whatever, you get rewarded for your good deeds and you get punished for your bad ones. Right, so here it seems to be working, right, it's not working Meikar Adin.
Randomness to it.
Right, it's not working Meikar Adin, so what is, exactly what Eden risk is, that's not 100% clear. But it's more the way the Mefarshim, where it's more the concept of that God, will, so to speak, overlook things, or if you're doing,
And why this particular mitzvah?
No, it's here because by tefillin you have a chiyuv to put on.
So there's lots of other.
No, but here
tzedakah.
No, tzedakah. No, there's also tzedakah, tatzel, mimavis. No, we have the concept by other mitzvahs as well. We'll get into what the nature of the mitzvah of tzitzis is anyway. But the reason why tzitzis is different is because it's a conditional mitzvah. You don't have to do it. So something you have to do the assays, the mitzvah assays, and you can't do the los assays. That's the regular din of schar and onesh. But on the extra things, I'm going out of my way now to do something extra. So therefore, so then apparently a different concept, works here. As we'll see there be differences in halacha also in terms of whether the fact that tzitzis is a conditional mitzvah, not in terms of this, but that's the way the Mefarshim seem to learn it. In other words, the regular mitzvahs asay, los asay, so you get the regular schar and onesh. But here, it's a matter of you're doing extra, so because you don't have to. So you're not getting punished for not wearing the tzitzis. Something else has to happen that you did wrong. That again, it's the whole share on what warrants the punishment. But something else, maybe just tip the scale over on something else you did wrong, that type of thing. Or the schus, but you have concept of schus if your kids do, let's say HaKadosh Baruch Hu won't punish you or keep you alive longer if give you a merit of your kids doing different things or other. So in terms, it's hard to answer halakhically speaking. We never know exactly schar and onesh. You can never pinpoint. We don't have Nevi'im today, so we don't know exactly. There's a system. We don't know exactly how it works. Right? So it's a good question, but it wasn't difficult to answer exactly what is Bid and Riska and what exactly how do the scales work and why now. But there are differences that the fact is because there's a Ramah that we know we've discussed in other contexts. We know tzit is a mitzvah saseh shazman grama, as we'll get into. So we know in general there's a machlokas in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah whether a woman can even volunteer for a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. Rabbi Yehuda's sheet is it's bal tosif. She's not allowed, so we don't pass in that way. We say she can do a mitzvah saseh, she can volunteer, and it's even praiseworthy. However, there's a machlokas among the Rishonim, and that's also machlokas the Machaber and the Ramah on could she volunteer a bracha. So we know the Svardi poskim, that's the psak of the Machaber. She could volunteer without a bracha. And the Minhag Ashkenaz is a woman could volunteer with the bracha. So that would, if she sit in the sukkah, she could also make a bracha. She could shake the daled minim, she could make a bracha. And the Svardim don't. So the Ramah writes, so even though Tzit-tzit is a mitzvah saseh shazman grama, but normally it's praiseworthy for a woman to volunteer a mitzvah saseh shazman grama, but the Ramah writes that it's not praiseworthy for a woman to volunteer the mitzvah of Tzit-tzit. Why not? Because if he gets into different lashon chovas gavra, what he means to say is that what he's basically saying is because it's not a mitzvah chiyuvis. In other words, a mitzvah chiyuvis, let's say a man has to do it. So therefore, in fact, there's a klal the Ramban has in Kiddushin about, because there's a Yerushalmi about sitting in the sukkah in the rain, about someone who sits in the sukkah in the rain. It's like a chassid shota. So again, at what point could you, there's a whole discussion over there in the Kiddushin, what type of things can she volunteer for, what she can. So one of the kolamar, whatever, as long as someone is chayiv in it. So if a man is chayiv in this mitzvah, so you could volunteer the mitzvah. But tzit-tzit, even a man isn't chayiv in. So I think his lashon is, it's michsi ki yehura. It looks like you're showing off. In other words, men don't even have to do it. So therefore, the Ramah, normally we assume it's praiseworthy for a woman not only to volunteer the mitzvah, even to make a bracha, but tzit-tzit, he writes, well, it's not praiseworthy because it's mitzvah kiyahura, it's something that maybe, because even men don't do it, but something that men are chayiv in, and the effort to volunteer. We had it's a different concept, not because of that, but we had the question by Sfiras HaOmer, whether women should count with a bracha or not. So that was one of the svaras some of the poskim give, is even though she can count, but some say she should count without a bracha, or hear someone else's bracha. Why? Because since Sfiras HaOmer, it's 49 days, 50 days, so we're concerned she's going to forget, and perhaps Shema, which is a discussion in its own right, whether all the blessings she made retroactively are considered a bracha of Atala. You'll say the same thing for men? No. You won't, because a man's chayiv in the mitzvah, so what? Sure, you're right. Certain men, you're right, so maybe they shouldn't.
Why would it be different than tzedakah?
No, with tzedakah we don't make a bracha on in terms of...
But we encourage a woman to give tzedakah, right?
All right, so... No, but why should...
What's that? Oh, sure.
Yeah, why shouldn't... but what's the problem with... First of all, what's the problem with tzedakah? Like, why...
It's voluntary.
Is
right?
it?
It's not... Well, okay.
I'm saying that's a separate share.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's there's a lot, maybe in women are chayiv, maybe it's not as mangrama, that's a separate share of tzedakah, but I'm saying
if you say that it's voluntary, then why would it be different than tzit-tzit?
But as I said, you get in, that's a separate share of tzedakah in terms of what exactly, but there are chiyuvim. There's chiyuvim ma'aseh. So there will be elements. You're right. Certain things that we pass in. It's a machlokas rishonim, whether it's a chiyuv daraisa, chiyuv derabanan, or perhaps it's the minhag. you're right. That's then, that could be more of a discussion, but we'll have to we'll have to analyze tzedakah more. But in terms of general, but that's right. Assuming tzedakah doesn't fit under that call for other reasons, but here, but by tzit-tzit he says because it's even optional by men, so therefore women should not, even though normally it's praiseworthy for women to volunteer mitzvahs aseh shazman grama, and according to Ashkenazim with the bracha, the Rama writes, so I'm just pointing out that that Pi Halacha, the Rama makes a distinction, besides the Ida Riska, that it's only conditional, that the Rama makes a distinction in terms of whether, so Meikar Din, so maybe they can, but in terms of, he says, he clearly recommends them not to because of the concept of it's Mitzi Kiyahura, because it's something they don't, even men don't have to do, so I guess that's the Rama's call. It's based on the Rishonim that anything is that someone has to be chayiv in the mitzvah. If no one's chayiv in the mitzvah, then perhaps a woman. That's what I think they discussed, because when it's sukkah, when it's raining in the sukkah, so no one has a mitzvah. That's one of the call. I think the Ramban over there. So when you get into, I'm not getting into the Lubavitch sheet about sitting sukkahs in the rain. That will save for sukkahs, but. And then some even get into maybe the Isser, you're getting Hana from the Sukkah, but it's the same concept, and there's no mitzvah, so then what are you volunteering? But, it's a little different there, even for a man, there's no mitzvah even to volunteer to sit in the rain in the Sukkah, it's a negative.
So what about Bikur Cholim? Any other volunteering mitzvah?
I mean,
do we discourage women from doing Bikur Cholim?
No, but that's why you assume that's voluntary. I'm saying, again, that gets into if it's v'yahavta or kamocha. It depends what are the sources of all these mitzvahs, the Adam Chavero, Bikur Cholim, Hachnat Zazor, all those. So
the point here is you're saying that because a man is
the point is there's fundamentally we assume there's a chiyuv on all those things. Whether the specific prat might only be d'Rabbanan, but not. We don't assume there's no chiyuv of Bikur Cholim. It's not optional. Meaning, obviously, you only can do Bikur Cholim when someone's sick, but that's not optional. That's different than saying, let's say Pidyon Aben, you have to have the right circumstances.
You're saying
Bikur
Cholim.
Yes, I'm saying Bikur Cholim. Whether you per se have to visit every Chola and all the details. Of course, I can't travel to China, and like any mitzvah, there's parameters to. And whether it's exactly Bikur Cholim, whether it's under the whole general category of a haftareh, different discussion on what exactly, when we discuss mitzvahs
It's optional, but for a man it's optional. You don't have to go in Bikur Cholim every day.
No, okay, so you're saying so how often you have to do it, that's something else, but in general, right, you're right, it's not like a mitzvah.
If you have a chola, you have to do it. If you have
it's not like the mitzvah of tefillin where you have to put on tefillin every day. I mean, it's much more confined, and this is it, 'cause that's a mitzvah b'adam l'makom. When you b'adam l'chaveros, so it could be the realm of b'adam l'chavero, it's a whole different ballgame. These are all b'adam l'chavero mitzvahs you're asking on. And maybe it's not. Maybe women have the same obligation as men. Why should a woman not have to do Bikur Cholim? I'm saying it's over here. We're talking in the realm of Al Makom where you have a mitzvah say Shazman Grama where the Allah already makes a distinction between men and women. If it's not so simple, that's true by that. So those examples. So it could be. So it's not that she's any less exempt than the man. Pashas, there's no reason why a woman shouldn't have the same chiyuv. Right, then you get into together, but that's why I think the B'adam Chavero will get to, that's a totally different category. That's the class, that's what I think the Ramban brings it up, by the Yerushalmi by Sukkah, but that's what the Ramah writes here, that he says that the difference is conditional is that since it's only on a mitzvah chiyuvis, do we say, at least in the B'adam L'makom, and in Tefillin he puts another exception, Guf Naki, but he puts tzit-tzit and tefillin also, but besides those, again, you're always going to have exceptions, but the general rule is, we assume it's praiseworthy, and Ashkenaz women even make a bracha, but tzit-tzit and tefillin, the Ramah brings down different exceptions to the rule, why women should not, for two totally different reasons. Tefillin's a mitzvah chiyuv, women should volunteer because of the guf naki. But tzit-tzit he brings down, the halakhic distinction that it's not a mitzvah chiyuvah. In fact, that's a discussion that's what I was getting at, and maybe we'll get into it more next week. But what exactly is the mitzvah? Is the mitzvah of tzitzis? Is it a mitzvah aseh? In other words, we say you clearly don't have a chiyuv to wear tzitzis. You don't have a chiyuv to put on for a four-corner garment. But let's say I'm wearing a four-corner. I have a four-corner garment on now. So what's the pshat? Is it that now is there a mitzvah aseh for me now to put on the tzitzis on this four-corner garment? In other words, it's definitely phrased in the positive, Vasuhem tzitzis, Akadim. Or do I say what they call an isser aseh? No, that it's prohibited for you to wear a four-corner garment if you don't have tzitzis.
I think it kind of counts both, doesn't it?
Counts what tzitzis is?
An aseh and a los aseh.
In wearing tzitzis, so
Yeah.
that's a major discussion in the Rishonim, the Mordechai by nafkamina, whether I say tzitzis is a mitzvah aseh or an isser aseh. So let's say the case the Mordechai talks about is, let's say it happens to be his case, it's Shabbos, and you have the tzitzis rip. But a rip, again, that's a separate share. What type of rip puzzles the tzitzis are not, but a rip that makes the tzitzis no good. So you don't have kosher tzitzis on. So do you have a chiyuv to take off the garment? Because the reason why Mordechai is talking about Shabbos is you can't fix the garment. In other words, you can't go ahead and take out new threads to make a new one. So he's discussing on Shabbos, does one have a chiyuv to take off? Again, we're not talking about where you're in Rishus Harabim, Carmelit, and you get into...
Muktzah or else?
No, right. There's another issue we're not talking about if you're outside, Gadol Kavod Habriya, Shadocha Losase, so then if you're in a Carmelit, that's a separate issue. Here I'm talking about, it's on Shabbos, you can be in your house even. Let's assume there's no Kavod Habriyas. Am I obligated to take off that four-corner garment? So he says it depends. So that's what, the Mordechai raised, so he quotes a Machloket Rishonim between Rabbeinu Shalom, I believe, and the Ri. That Rabbeinu Shalom says that one says that you have a chiyuv to take it off. Another Rishonim say that no. So what's the Nekudas HaMachloket? What's the issue on whether I have a chiyuv to take off my four-corner garment if I can't put new tzitzis on? He says it depends on how you formulate the mitzvah of tzitzis. If it's formulated as an isser aseh, that there's an isser for me to wear a four-corner garment without tzitzis. If it's formulated as an isser aseh, like the Minchas Chinuch seems to say, and the Minchas Chinuch also says the same chiddush by sukkah as well, that sukkah is not just a mitzvah to sit in the sukkah, but there's an isser to sit chutzvah. That's the whole big major, the whole discussion Minchas Chinuch has by an onain, which we discussed other times, in terms of, an onain is pater for mitzvahs aseh. An onain is someone that is after the death, but before the burial. So he's pater min ha-mitzvah. So Machlokas Rashi and Tosfos, whether he's pater or it's usher. So we pass from like Tosfos to Yerushalmi, it's usher for an onain to do mitzvahs. So the question is, so let's say it's over Sukkot, and he has a status of an onain, let's say, Tue May, before the burial, and they want to know, so what should he do? Could he sit in the sukkah? So do we know he can't sit in the sukkah because he's pater min ha-mitzvahs? It's also to do mitzvahs. But the Minchas Chinuch raises the question, but maybe it's an isser to eating chutzvah sukkah. So he says he should eat in the sukkah without a bracha. Because why? The only time you make a bracha if you're doing a mitzvah. If you're doing a bracha to avoid an isser, then he says you don't make a bracha. Same thing like the Piskei Tshuva writes by an onain should eat bread without the bracha. What do you mean? Without the netilah shadah? He should wash his hands without a bracha. Again, it's the same yisod, because there's a mitzvah aseh to wash your hands before you eat bread, and there's an isser to eat bread without washing hands. So it says again, the same yisod, that you only make a bracha when you're fulfilling a mitzvah to avoid a mitzvah you don't. So that's what the Minchas Chinuch raises. The other Achronim, he says, by tzitzis, he writes, it's an Isser Aseh. And therefore, if it's an Isser, so on Shabbos, it's prohibited for me to wear this four-corner garment without tzitzis. I can't put on tzitzis. I'm obligated to take off the beged right away. And other Rishonim say no. I can leave the beged on. I have to leave the beged on because there is no Isser Aseh. There's no Isser for me to wear when I put on the four-corner garment, I become chayev in the mitzvah aseh of tzitzis, like there's a mitzvah aseh of tefillin. Okay, but I can't, the Shabbos, I'm an honest, I can't fix the tzitzis now, so it's okay, I can leave the garment on, and after Shabbos, once Shabbos is over, and I can fix it, then I can go ahead. But there is no Isser exists if I'm in a situation where I can't fix the tzitzis, there is no problem. A lot of people write, which is, I'm not saying is wrong, but it's not a milsa the pshita, that they say, they formulated with the Isser Aseh, that you can't wear a four-corner garment. In fact, that's why one of his rayas is they bring down, the Gemara talks about when you're outside, in a case of shadnis, could you go ahead and you pull off, I think whether it's a thread rips and it's outside, it's an issue, it's possible tzitzis, an issue maybe of hotzah, of carrying, of a chilul Shabbos. So you talk about that you're allowed at kavod abriyas. So if it's in a carmelis, so we permit you to keep them on. You don't have to cover. So some Achronim say, forget about that. What about the Isser Aseh? Why do you have to come on to kavod abriyas? They say there's an Isser Aseh that you can't. So we see from here they say that there is no Isser Aseh. There is no Isser. Again, if it happens during the week. If it's a mitzvah aseh, then you got to go fix them. But the nafkamina comes up. The Mordechai saw on a Shabbos, we have to rip on a Shabbos and a heicha timsa where you can't fix them. So perhaps then he says you can leave the tzitzis on. That quotes the Machokas Rishonim. But that issue depends on whether it's an Isser Aseh or a mitzvah aseh. And the many nafkaminas the Minchas Chinuch always brings down when he brings down the difference between an Isser Aseh and a mitzvah aseh. Let's say whether mitzvahs strichas kavanah or not. We know in general we paskin mitzvahs require kavanah, a whole different topic we've discussed many times, but the bottom line is that the way the Magen Avraham brings down, the Mishnah Berurah, on a mitzvah aseh, on a deraisa we say mitzvah strichas kavanah, on a derabbanan we say mitzvah einin strichas kavanah. So since this is a mitzvah deraisa, to get into the issue of how much kavanah, we'll get into more next week, how much kavanah you need. If it's an Isser Aseh, so maybe you don't need the kavanah, or at least less kavanah. If it's phrased in a mitzvah aseh, you'll need more. Or the issue of the Minchas Chinuch always talks about the knas of asara zehuvim. The Gemara talks about it by shchita. The one who does the shchita, he gets the first shot as doing the kisei hadam. So let's say someone's going ahead, he did the shchita, he's about to do the kisei hadam, and someone runs him over, tackles him, and he does it. So therefore, the halacha is he has to pay him asara zehuvim. He has to pay him a certain amount of money. So the question is, so the Minchas Chinuch raises the halacha, and that's where he talks about it by tashbisu as well. The mitzvah, how do you formulate the mitzvah of destroying chametz? Is it have to actively go ahead and destroy the chametz? Or it's not having chametz in my possession? So again, he goes into, if it's a mitzvah aseh, so then you already have to deal with the issue of asara zehuvim. So you have to make a heicha timsa where someone steals your mitzvah of tzitzis. But either way, that's what the Mordechai brings down, this issue of whether there is an isser to wear a four-corner garment without tzitzis. There's no isser per se, but there's a mitzvah aseh. So either way, you have to put on tzitzis. Now, kamina is a case where you can, i.e. Shabbos, so that's what he brings down. That's what he brings down that rule. So therefore, as we pointed out, tzitzis is a conditional mitzvah, so it's different than the normal mitzvah chiyuvis of tefillah and lulav that you have to do, but tzitzis is conditional. Why was Katina punished for not wearing tzitzis? So he said either, like the Gemara talks about, kind of like a nida l'shamayim, or as Tosfos writes, that we learned from Moshe Rabbeinu, you always have to put yourself in a situation where you can do as many mitzvahs as possible. And in fact, we have that cloud also in the negative as well. Not only do you have to put yourself in a position where you have to do as many mitzvahs as possible, that Moshe wanted to go in Eretz Yisrael, but you also have to put yourself in a situation, if you can, to avoid an Isser. Like that's the famous Machlokas, the Ramban and Baal Amor by Mila. The Gemara has a case in Erev in talking about Mila, going out, getting a guy, going ahead, could you cook the water? You find a guy to go into a chat. The whole sugya will be discussed in Amir L'Nachri. But the Rishonim discuss another case, not in the Gemara, which we've discussed before, the Ramban Baal Amor, is, let's say, it's not so nagea today because of modern technology, but they used to marchitza sakatan ben lofneha mila ben la'achar mila. They used to have to heat water for the katan before and after. It was a sakana. You had to go ahead and for the health of the child. So the question is, you're about to do the bris milah, and the kids are running around and they kick over the bucket of water. So, of course, if you already did the bris milah and now the water afterwards, or sakana, so there's nothing to talk about. You have to go ahead and either get a guy, or whatever you have to do. You have to get hot water to save the child. The question is, what if you didn't do the bris yet and they kicked over the water? So now the question is, should I go ahead now and cook and heat up water to and do a malach on Shabbos? Again, maybe it might be a malach. What?
This is because it's not shireh.
Right, because Mila itself is the actual Mila itself is Docha Shabbos. But as Leza pointed out, but Makshir Mila isn't. That's the Machokas, that's Rabbi Lezer's sheet that are those who say it is. You can even maybe how far you go. You like chop the wood, and how far back you go with this discussion, but we don't pass in any, we pass in Makshiri Mila aren't Docha Shabbos. So we only the Mila itself. That's the whole discussion that was, Rav Selevan Frank had a case where they dropped the knife, the guy, they had the knife in the carriage and they walked out and they couldn't find the knife and they saw it was right outside the shul, and the question was, could you use a magnet on that? There's a whole discussion. But the Makshiri Mila aren't Docha Shabbos. So the question is, but Mila is. So the question is, can you go ahead and heat up the hot water knowing that you're going to have to go ahead and you allowed to go ahead and do the bris knowing that you're going to have to go ahead, and heat up the hot water for after. So that's what the Ramban writes. The Ramban writes, Eilucha mitzvah l'shai. So you have a mitzvah. Right now you have a chiyuv bris milah. It's day 8. You have a chiyuv. You did the katan before. We're talking about the water you're going to need for after. But you didn't do the milah yet. But the water after is gone now. So the Ramban says, so what? Eilucha mitzvah l'shai. So you have a mitzvah you do right now. And therefore, let the chips fall where they may. If I have to go ahead and heat up the hot water, it's a sakana, I'm allowed to. And the Baal Amor says no. He says, since you know that by doing the Bris Milah, it's an agorim chilul Shabbos, it won't be really chilul Shabbos because it'll be mutter at that point, because it'll be pikuach nefesh, but putting yourself in a situation where you normally won't be able to do that, so he says, no, you can't do it, and you have to push off the Bris Milah until Sunday. And the Machaber seems to pass like the Baal Amor. In that situation, we'd wait until Sunday to go ahead and do the Bris Milah. Again, it's not nogeated because we don't have the hot water, we have other medicinal reasons. But we see the klal, that not only in the positive sense, you have to put yourself in a situation where you can fulfill as many mitzvahs as possible, but also on the other side is you have to also try to put yourself in a situation to avoid any type of, not really Yisurim, but any type of situations where you wouldn't normally be doing it. So that's a Machogas, Ramban Baal Amor, and they have discussions in other areas. But that's the issue by Tzit-tzit. So we see Moshe Rabbeinu was mitztayer on that issue. And after he went ahead, and even though he was in Chutz La'aretz, he wanted to fulfill the mitzvah. So we'll have to go into next time, we're going to go into assuming you put yourself in a situation that you're going to obligate yourself in tzitzis, like one should, so what type of begadim are chayiv in tzitzis? Is it any material, wool, linen, cotton, etc.? What type of material is chayiv in the tzitzis? And then many issues that come out from that discussion. We'll get into the issue discussion Rambam and Rush in terms of what exactly is the chiyuv. When is the chiyuv? Is it the day versus night? The mitzvah chasei shazman Rambam. When exactly is the chiyuv to wear tzitzis, during the day, or is there a mitzvah to wear at night? And get into also the issue of the talis katan we wear. What should that be? The talis katan, should that be different than the talis gadol that we wear? Should it be the same material? Should it be different? We'll get into the minhag hagra and others, and and a bunch of other issue of techeles. There's techeles ba'akiv de lavan. We'll go into part 2 of tzitzis next week.
Is it a mitzvah if you put on another pair of scissors?
With Scheinberg?
I didn't say that. No, I'm just saying, is the mitzvah putting on tzitzit, or the mitzvah
You're saying
putting on a garment with tzitzit? You can put on 5 garments with tzitzit.
No, you're saying...
Or do you not, the whole machlokes in the Gemara is if you have a 4-cornered baguette in your drawer, right?
Yeah.
All of them
Would you
have.
make a bracha every time? So you put on 3, make 3 brachas?
But that's only if it hold on you.
No, so I can wear it's cold.
No, he's saying...
No, but that's not normal wearing, is it? Or you're saying that you're wearing it...
Let's say you had a coat with 4 corners and you had an undergarment with 4 corners.
Right. Then each one would have a chiyuv b'chayr. Because it's on
So would you make 2 brachas?
No, why?
You mean you're putting them on at separate times, or...?
Yeah, you're going to put on. You're not putting them both on exactly at the same moment.
I don't mean about that.
I mean, if you have obviously...
No, but let's say the mitzvah of shechita, let's say, that's a machlok.
Shechting 5 cows.
Let's say you're shechting, let's say I think they do them in an hour, or let's say I think the minhag among the Muslims, my friend tells me that they make a bracha on each one. But we don't necessarily fundamentally argue with that, so we agree also that you make a bracha on every shechita. We just say the one bracha you make goes on all the... So obviously, if you're planning on putting on 5 pair of tzitzis, 10, so then, you'd make the one bracha, but you have a mind...
But you only have 1 mitzvah. You don't have 5 mitzvahs. But you have 5 mitzvahs.
I mean...
Theory.
Well, every time you do it, you get a mitzvah.
Right, well, you mean you're saying a mitzvah kiyum is...
Right.
So you have, so each... that each baggage you wear, you get another mitzvah, or it's just one, or there's no difference between 5 and 1.
So he makes 1 bracha, I assume.
Yeah, I'll look into that for next week. I assume he only makes 1 bracha, but in terms of that, it's not clear why he wears, it's a whole discussion, different ideas why he wears all those many different tzitzis.
Cool. Some of those sports shirts, just excuse my being late, I am. Didn't remind me.
No, next week.
Oh yeah, you said
Like graduation.
So some of the sports shirts have a little slit on the side here, right? Does that make it a 4-cornered shirt?
Right, that's what we'll get into next week also. It's actually not clear. We'll have to see. One of the ways they say is, as we'll see, I'll get into next week in terms of perhaps a woolen blanket that Magen Avraham talks about whether rounding it off, because it's not exactly clear among the poskim how round it has to be. But some things we'll know for sure it isn't, but that's we'll have to see. But it's not exactly clear this year. So if you're going to round it, make sure you round it enough. But we'll see. I'll get into the Magen Avraham next week with
I think the Chinuch says if it's got 5 corners, you're still chayav, right?
Yeah, that's what yeah. But we'll see.
Obviously, it's not 90 degrees.
No, right, but 5. But we'll see. You only chayav to put up 4 of them.
Oh, is that the deal?
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, the Gemara discusses it. We'll get into that. We'll have the share next week. We'll go into it.